So do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So purpose of state diagrams are to help developers understand or visualize complex or unusual behaviors of a system. They depict behavior of an entire system, a subsystem, or a single object in a system. They're not required, but they're often very useful. In fact, they're kind of the odd man out, it seems to me, for this class, in that pretty much everything else ties like directly to your code. Like some of the other diagrams you can actually automatically generate from your code. These ones are more kind of up to the user to figure out how they want to diagram them and do them. You can't really do them automated that easily. Elements of a state diagram. Normally we'll start with the little dot for the initial state. It's a starting point, sometimes called a pseudo state. There's no variables describing it further. It has no activities. It's just, this is the beginning state. You have the little rounded rectangle with the 3 levels sometimes there are only 2. All depends on how much information you're providing. But that's your state. It represents the state of the object at an instant in time. There will be more than one of those in each diagram, one for each state of the object being described. And in between each of those, you're going to have the arrow or a transition, which is going to have the event and the action taken typically over the top of it. If the transition occurs because the state completed an activity, then it'll be called triggerless. And if the event occurs after the completion of event or action, then it's called the guard condition, and typically has square brackets over it. If you see a circle with an H in it, that's a history state. That indicates an object went into a trance or wait state, so kind of a holding area where you would take an action and then it has to get parked for a little while. It goes off to that hold state. Then when it comes back, it returns to the active state. Sometimes above the event, action, and transition arrows, you'll have the signal, which is an event which causes a message trigger to be sent to the state, causes a transition. And then at the very end, you'll have a bullseye for the final state. Once again, there's no, or it's a pseudo state. There's no variable or action. It's just, that's the end. So reasons for doing this: you can create state diagrams when the business logic is very complex or needs greater understanding by the developer to be coded perfectly, and arrange the states and transitions to minimize the crossings of lines. Crossed lines are sources of confusion and may detract from the meaning of the diagram. So if you have a very complex diagram, you want to try and make sure you spread it out enough that the lines don't cross each other and look nice and clean. So just a fun, simple little example of one for hot cocoa or a hot chocolate machine. You're going to start, you're going to turn the machine on is the event, and then you've got the dew and heat water for the event in action. The next state would be that you've put the cocoa pod in the holder and closed it, and it's going to prompt you for the cup size for your action. Then you're going to, next state is your brew size is selected. You're going to adjust the water output in the brew, and then your brew is going to be complete. It's going to idle, or you can go back and put another one in to get a second cup. A little more pertinent to kind of what we're doing is like a CPU execution diagram. Here you can see it bounces back and forth after the running state blocked or halted, and to the ready state. And then a example of a Java thread state and lifecycle. So obviously it gets a little more complex and a little messier, but this is why you would want to have these kind of diagrams, because trying to explain this verbally to someone just isn't going to work. You're going to need to have a diagram like this so that they can sit there and stare at it for half an hour while they try and track through it and figure out exactly what you're talking about. But basically, each state of your program that you're interested in is going to have its own little box. You're going to explain the event and the action, and then the transitions between it. And with some thought and planning, you can come up with a decent plan or decent diagram. Some of the tools you can use to make this happen are the Draw.io or the Smart Draw program. There's a number of others available as well. I actually really like the Smart Draw. I don't know if you guys have ever used it, but it does a lot more than just state diagrams.
Is that a Microsoft program?
No, actually, this is a just a third-party tool. It would replace Visio if you had Visio, so Microsoft definitely not. But you've got all these. It does mind maps, org charts. Actually can do project planning, and it'll automatically, kind of getting off topic here, but it'll automatically do from a mind map to a timeline to a Gantt chart to a tasks assignment. You update any one of those four, it updates all four. And you can assign. You can assign.
Go ahead.
I was going to say you can assign tasks to other people and share online so they can all work off the same thing, or it reports automatically when you're done.
Cool.
So
I like the look of the interface. Look, I mean the whatever it's called, the desktop. Has a nice look to it.
So really, I mean, obviously it's going to take time to come up with each of these diagrams when you need them, but that's a pretty basic process. Any questions on them?
No, that looks good.
Okay, then turn it back over to Seth. I think you have to take over the. Where's my disabler? I got to get back to Google.
I think you can take it.
Okay, so I am going to be. Hold on, let's see. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, you're presenting to everyone. It's set to capture you.
All right, let's make sure. Which screen do you see? Because there's like 3 of them. Is it the web browser?
I don't see your screen.
Yeah, all I see is your face right now.
Give me just a second. Yeah, I thought it would make me choose.
It still claims to be me, I think.
All right.
Doing really funky things on my screen.
Yeah, it's really cool. All right, man.
That should be. How
there.
about now?
I think I just gave it to you.
All right, sweet.
You're the ocean?
Right. Yep.
Okay.
So I'm going to be talking about sequence diagrams. So they're similar to the UML diagrams. I don't know how many of you have done a whole lot with those, but they're basically a UML diagram that literally walks you through step by step of the program. This is from his Doing More with Java book. Let's see if I can center this on my screen. So, and so this is, as you can't see my, you can't see my cursor.
I think it's still sharing off of mine.
I see the Doing More with Java book.
Yeah, but I think it's doing it from inside my window, not off his.
That's strange. It is coming off your window.
Yeah, so if we can get it off mine, you can get a bigger screen. How do we cancel mine?
No, I got it. It's set to his perspective.
There.
Yeah,
well,
I clicked on his, but I think, are you still seeing my, like, if I go this, what do you see?
The one that's broadcast to YouTube is my perspective, so.
Okay. But, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you're right. That's fine. So like I said, this is from the Doing More with Java book, which is a book that seems literally tailor-made for this class to some extent. And so as you can see, he went through and took one of his sample programs and actually broke it up step by step and then showed you as it actually went through. It says this sounds really dumb, the sequence of the program. And so he's talking about, test.json and as it went through each of the steps, and that is literally what a sequence diagram is it the sequence of the program. And this was something new for me to actually look at one of these. All of the ones that I've done previously were just straight up UML diagrams, and this is technically a UML diagram, but it's a little different than the standard one for the program. Hold on, I've got part of a PowerPoint. Switch over. And apparently it does not want to drag. Hold on. Sorry, having difficulties with PowerPoint, which I don't know. There we go. So I think this is also from the book. Sequence diagrams emphasize the time of the ordering of the messages. They show the succession of interactions between classes or objects. Notice I did not write this, by the way. This is all copy and paste. Or object instances over time. They're allowed to or used to show the overall pattern of the activities or interactions in a use case. And each use case may create one sequence diagram. So these are some of the symbols that are used. And this, I do believe that Draw.io actually has all of this stuff built into it already. So I was playing around with it earlier, and it does seem to have all of this pretty simply. You know, the object name, class, object name, and class. And then you've got your different arrows that indicate a function or an action. And then we have, this is from one of the student programs. And yeah, so it's basically just walks you through the program in sequence, which I guess is where the name comes from. Are there any questions about sequence diagrams?
No, that seems fairly straightforward to me.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of those things you're like, huh, well, we're a very literal group of people, apparently. What are we going to call it? Well, let's call it a sequence diagram.
Literal is good for programming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Very much so, yep. Okay, if there are no questions, I'll stop screen sharing.
So have you guys thought anything about doing a project?
Not yet.
Any ideas in mind of something you want to try to do?
I'm trying to decide if I want to go through all the trouble of like building a GUI and like a web application of some kind, or if I want to just keep it to a command line interface, like console app. Like regardless of what I do.
Right. Well, yeah, because then you got to put a whole bunch of HTML into it to get
Yeah, exactly.
that
make it
going.
look pretty.
Yep.
And I'm really bad at making things look pretty, so.
It's too bad we can't work on it together, because it would be nice. We'd split it up.
Yeah, it'd be really nice to like split the load up.
Because I don't mind making things look pretty. I'll sit there and dwell on CSS forever. CSS.
I do photography and stuff, so I would do that kind of stuff as well. But
so
yeah, apparently they used to do this as a group.
Yep. This class just doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't.
No. It's kind of surprising. It's like, why are we paying for this?
Well, why were you paying the instructor? Because
yeah.
Well, are we still live?
Yep. Might want to